Hey everyone, my name is Marissa. Welcome back to my channel if you've been here before, and welcome if this is your first time here. I felt like just showing my face on the intro because some of you guys have mentioned that you miss seeing my face, but there's other places that we can connect and that my face is more of the center stage. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate sharing this journey with you all, and I'm just so grateful to have this type of environment where we can connect over things that I feel deeply and truly matter in life. And just thank you for entrusting me with these intimate and possibly life-altering aspects of your incarnation. So yeah, really excited for today's reading. These are all about a message from your future self or something that your future self would like you to know. I'm not sure yet. We'll see based off of what the title of this video ends up being. But 4 piles to choose from today, my friends. You can always pause the video if you need more time. And when you're feeling ready, we're gonna hop right into these readings. What's up, group number 1? If you guys chose this agape card, this is your reading in regards to a message from your future self, what your future self would like you to know about your current circumstances. Okay, so it's really interesting because when this 8 of Cups flipped over, I already had this feeling that it would come up again in this tarot deck, because of that, I can only, like, that tends to be magnified in this reading, this sense of like walking away or things ending or things not necessarily working out for you. And so what your future self is really communicating that, you know, they're acknowledging how many doors have had to close and how many things have felt like they haven't gone your way, and how much that has created this kind of internal dissonance, because I feel like you guys have been working really hard at something and working to just improve yourself and to have to feel solid in who you are and to feel solid in your gifts and to feel solid about, you know, being able to create a life that you're very proud of and wanting to share that journey with people that understand you platonically and romantically, right? And so I feel like there might, because this 8 of Cups is so loud, I feel like there might be a little bit of like feeling betrayed by the universe, or just like wondering like, when is it gonna give, and wondering like, do I actually have it in me, and like, can I actually be successful, and like maybe some questioning about the journey that you're on because so many things that you've tried have just like not seemed to have worked out for you, you know. And with this 4 of Cups, I'm really guided to the sense of like, you know, Spirit is trying to help like make space for new beginnings by clearing out these old residual versions of yourself that are attached to old people and like old paradigms and, you know, just old belief systems in general. I mean, you have so many cups coming up, and so like the water family is all about intuition and less about logic and reasoning, and it's really about trusting your heart. But I really feel like because you might have experienced some painful endings throughout this incarnation, that you're wondering, well, can I really trust my heart? Because it seems like every time I like follow my heart, like that new beginning quickly or however long it takes turns into like an ending or another chapter that's closing. And like, I'm seeing a ladder here. And so like, I feel like you guys might not really see how much, oh yeah, there's a ladder right here. There's like a staircase. You might not really see how far that you've come, right? And how much progress you are making internally. There is a desire here from your future self. Your future self acknowledges that at this point, there's a lot of mental conflict that you're wanting to, like, you're trying your best to like see beyond, to take beyond. And if there is like a strong piece of advice that your future self is communicating here, it's, you know, Artemis is a being that, or a goddess that is very self-reliant, right? But also the gift of Artemis is she knows when to let others help her too, and she knows when to not just lean on her own understanding, but reaching out to soul family and people she trusts. And it's interesting too that her arrow and the way that these cards are lined up, it's like she's shooting towards, you know, it's like the cups is there, but like she's not looking at what's happened, right? She's like looking towards the future, shooting towards, you know, not closing down the heart and keeping it open and keeping her eye on the prize. So I feel like with the 9 of Wands and the agape and Artemis, like this is really about like, you know, whatever path you're on, you're not on the wrong path. And so if that's something you've been questioning, let this be your confirmation. You are on the right path, and nothing good comes easy, right? Or maybe that's actually a narrative that you've been telling yourself that, you know, your guides might want you to take a look at, of like, nothing good comes easy, or nothing good can come fast, or whatever. There might just be essentially like some belief systems that you have around, you know, in order to really make my life happen, or in order to make my dream come true happen, then you know, I have to work my ass off, and I have to do it by myself, and it has to be painful, right? If that is like a core belief that you have of like the underdog, or like the misfits, or, you know, someone that has to prove themselves worthy and like prove other people wrong, etc., like, that's a really sneaky way that we can be making things harder on ourselves than they need to be. Versus, like, you know, your future self is really inviting in this energy of more play and more just like being in the space of love, and not necessarily worrying about the object of your love or your devotion, what you're devoted to, your life path, your dharma, your service, your gifts to the planet, right? You're not so much worried about what you're getting from it, right? And it's much more just about the experience, and like, what brings out the side of yourself that you feel the most confident in, that feels the most natural, I should say, because you might not always feel confident on the path that you're on, right? That's not part of the human experience, but, you know, we can enjoy the journey. We can understand when we have these old belief systems coming up of like, you know, nothing good comes easy, right? But especially in the beginning of a journey, like when you're first starting out, it's like your muscles have to get used to the climb. You know, you have to acclimate yourself mentally, you have to acclimate yourself emotionally, and continue to reset your sights on why it is that you started out in this direction in the first place. And so I feel like you guys have maybe done a lot of self-exploration in terms of like what kind of life you want, and maybe you guys are people that like vision board or like dream journal, you know, that are very much so on a path of like intentionally living. And I'm just sensing that you might have felt left out, or like, let down. That's what I'm trying to say. And your future self is like, you are, you know, keep your eye on the prize, and make the prize be much more so about how much am I authentically sharing a space, like communing with people, and, you know, sharing my heart and sharing the joys, and not feeling like you have to do it all on your own, right? Artemis knows when to reach out on other people. She doesn't just rely on her own self, but she knows that she's fully supported. And it's not just about her fully supporting herself. It's about relying on just like the forces of the universe, and understanding those things will come into play when they're meant to. I'm really feeling this nudge of your guides really wanting to reiterate that these endings don't mean that something negative has happened, or that you're doing something wrong, or when things don't necessarily go the way that you want them to go, or you think that they should go, or like at the pace that you think they should. Like, this is a journey that, you know, is very individualized, right? And so what might be right for me might not be right for you, and what's right for your neighbor might not be right for you, and, you know, and so there is a sense here about really getting to know for yourself through your own deep intuition. There's a lot here about, you know, getting out of the mind and falling into your heart, right? And understanding when it's time to let go of those old things, and not seeing it as something negative. Like, if it's stale and stagnant, and if it's already served its purpose, like, you want to release it, right? You want to let it go. And this is something that I feel like you guys are probably already very aware of. But there's almost this sense that I'm getting of there's still a core belief that it's too good to be true. And so I feel like your future self is really wanting you to reestablish a sense of play. And right, Agape talks about, you know, just being open to, like, it's that sense that you get when you just feel like you're awestruck by nature, where you're awestruck by your surroundings, and just when, you know, you're just so present to like the miracles that are all around you to make this experience like what it is, and all the versions of you that you've been that, you know, have created you into being the individual that you currently are. I feel like it's really getting back to the basics that your future self is wanting to redirect you towards, and being more in that childlike, that inner child where play is what is prioritized. And I feel like some of you guys might have been thinking about a new beginning, or thinking about like, should I try something new or what? And I really feel like your future self is really saying that this will be made so much more clear, so much more quickly when you are focusing on those things that you do because they're fun and because it just feels like a natural extension of your gifts and what you're good at. And noticing when it feels like you're kind of like talking yourself into doing something because it's like more of an obligation, right? And less of like, this just feels like the thing that sets my heart on fire the most at this moment. I feel like getting a little bit or a couple cards from deck. So what is it that pile 1, group 1's future self would like them to know, please, Spirit? Any other messages for pile 1, please? Soulmates. Okay, there's a lot here about there's a lot here about love, okay? And you know, I on my channel try not to make things too much like, it's not even necessarily me, but I just like, my guides that I work with know how much that we can get swept away in like romance, right? But I mean, and so if anything, they use the lovers as a very symbolic thing, right? But sometimes those love readings are so obvious like they are right now. So I feel like some of you guys also might just be feeling down about a recent ending, or an experience that ended with someone, or, you know, maybe you have just been in and out of relationship dynamics in general that, again, just like this sense of wondering if what you want is actually possible, and wondering what if your other person is actually out there, and your future self is, I feel like, sitting in a space where more and more they are meeting people that are actually on your level. Okay, and that you just feel comfortable, and like you guys are on each other's level, and it's like neither one of you is sacrificing the core of who you are in order to like appease the other person, or because like there's like this cord of unworthiness that's running the dynamic. No, you feel really solid within this connection. And I feel like if that's something that you guys have been worrying about, of like, you know, everything else in my life feels like it's moving in the right direction, but the one area that I can't seem to like, you know, dial in on is my love life. I feel like your future self is sitting in a place where they're like, there is someone, right? There is, your counterpart is there. Like, this cannot get more obvious, you know? It's like the cards are literally screaming at me of like, you know, just noticing again how you are a very whole being. I feel like pile number 1, you're not someone that relies on other people to make you feel fulfilled. I feel like you're very self-sufficient, and you have a lot of love to give, right? And you've been very focused on your path. And I feel like you just might be questioning, like, is any of this like really possible? But your future self is like, yes, it's like you'll look back even a couple years from now and see how much progress you've made. But just because you're in the thick of it right now, in the thick of, I feel like new energies, like about to break through a new paradigm completely, you might feel a lot more stagnant than you actually are, because I am seeing that, you know, across the board in terms of love, romantically and platonically. I feel like there's a lot of people that really support you. There's a lot of people that have a lot of love for you, pile number 1, and that, you know, would give you the world, and, you know, just love being in your presence, and love playing with you, and love laughing with you. And I feel like you're someone that you are much more solid in yourself than you even give yourself credit for. And yeah, I just feel like your future self is really acknowledging this sense of wanting you to realize what a firm foundation you have set within yourself. And it's like the foundation is the hardest part, right? It's the longest part. It's the part that requires the most material, the most effort. And then once that firm foundation is laid, everything kind of clicks into place. But it's like the beginning is always the hardest. Okay, and so you guys might also just be getting new insight around certain habits or certain behaviors, or again, going back to that script. You guys might just be
guided, or your future self is acknowledging you. So it's going to be a little bit different depending on, you know, the person tuning in, but either your guide is acknowledging you on the work that you've done in terms of understanding your relationship and like just like childhood experiences and how that relates to how you relate to love and friendship, etc. Or your future self is also saying to those beings that haven't gone down that journey yet to maybe start to explore what are those core beliefs that I created early in my incarnation about love. Like, if you grew up in a very like unsafe and chaotic environment, maybe your relationship to love or your idea of it is that love is I'm sacrificing part of who I am, or I have to like abandon parts of myself to get that love, or to be the good girl or the good boy. I have to people please or whatever, right? And you know, it's going to be different for all people. So, you know, I feel like your future self is really saying that, you know, this is part of the patience. It's like, if the foundation is built upon sand, then it's going to fall, you know, it's only going to look good for a certain amount of time. And then you're right back where you ended up starting or where you were in the first place. So, you know, your guides are acknowledging that this has felt like a very long journey for you. Your future self is like, this has been a long journey, but it's so worth it. And you know what? Like, you start to acclimate to it. And it's not necessarily that, you know, your lessons per se get easier, but it's just like your wherewithal, your spiritual understanding, your emotional body is just more adept at handling those things. And so your future self is really acknowledging the work that you've done to come into your emotions and like go deeper, right? The more that you learn how to trust your emotional body again and reestablishing, you know, that internal peace and understanding like the people and the situations and the dynamics that don't make you feel peaceful, maybe investigating that, why that is. And also not questioning when your nervous system feels uneasy around someone. Trust that, you know, that is your future self giving you a direct line of communication of being like, okay, like, let's really investigate or let's at least take time to like remove our emotions from it and see, is this just me rewriting an old script? Or, you know, is this me trying to rewrite that script, or just operating subconsciously, karmically from one of those core beliefs, right? And not questioning yourself if that's the case, and giving yourself space to give those connections space, if and when you need to figure it out, you know, for yourself. But I feel like ultimately your future self is acknowledging that you've been working very hard, and that despite how conflicted you might have felt at times and how unsure you've been of your own path, that they are very proud of you for not giving up. Sometimes you might take breaks. That's great to just like reassess. Where am I coming from? Is this still really for me? And your future self is really proud of the progress that you made, and is really excited for you to continue along this journey, because I feel like you'll become much more and more surprised at how like easy you feel in your own skin, how comfortable you feel in your own skin. The more that you just relax, man, the more that you just like let your intuitive body kind of take the reins. Because again, I feel like there is a lot of this masculine kind of like go-getter energy coming through, and your future self is like, have fun, man. Like, it's okay. Have fun. It's all going to work out. You know, the more that we just relax, it's so interesting. It's like the more that true power comes forth. And, I feel like one of your ways, your future self is saying, one of the ways that you really notice, that the most is in your relationships. Because I feel like pile one, you guys feel really solid in most areas of your life. You feel really capable and really unstoppable. But the one area that I feel like is kind of shaky for you guys is the vulnerability that comes from opening up to people in a very deep and authentic way. But it's only when like there's a part of you that thinks that they are somehow better than you, or like you might subconsciously put people on a pedestal. I get it. I've been there many times myself. Okay. But I feel like that is a narrative that is your future self is really just in this reading zoning in on, because I feel like that's a really good area to practice just relaxing, you know, relaxing into whatever feelings are coming up, whatever emotions are coming up, and you're much more likely to make better decisions about, you know, the paths that you're going to take, right? But also just like the partners, like if you are relaxed and easy in yourself and you're just like still feel like you're able to really tune into someone else's intentions a lot better, and you're less likely to question yourself or gaslight yourself or like let things get too far to a point to where you do end up being disappointed. But your future self is like, for the most part, pile one has a really good read on people, but it's just, I feel like you might tend to question that, versus just like at the first few signs of something not being compatible, not being afraid to be like, hey, like, great person, but just like not for me, like not the person that is compatible on all the levels that I feel like you guys are ready for. But again, yeah, this is about prioritizing your intuitive body, your emotional body, deepening into that, and seeing the people that bring out the best in you, or that it feels very relaxed, And for those of you that have been through more, again, those chaotic types of environments in early childhood, the healthiest relationships I'm seeing, because I can definitely relate to that, are relationships that might feel boring at first, just because it's not what you have learned is normal, right? If you learn that adrenaline and a certain level of toxicity is normal in love, then actually like an actual healthy relationship might like breeze right past your radar, because it's not what was stimulating that core belief. Okay. So there's a lot of just like, an acknowledgement from your future self of how far you've come, and that I feel like there are saying that this person is near, and like the more that you just address those areas where you may have abandoned yourself, or you may have like let someone cross boundaries that you had established or something, it's like not letting those be crossed, and really being firm in who you are and what you have to offer, and not being the reason that, not abandoning yourself, and still not closing off the heart, but just like, it's like discernment, okay? Like just having discernment and acting on that discernment. And if people like trusting too, like I had a friend tell me this, is like, I was like, okay, kind of seeing this dude, and was getting some flags, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And he was like, that is his best self. Just so you know, when you first start seeing someone, that is their best self. Like that's their best version. Okay. So like, if that is the best that you're getting, then maybe go get it somewhere else. But you kind of get it, you guys get it. The more that, it's about the solid foundations and not rushing into things and not having an end result of things, and, like seeing everything as an opportunity to learn. And just, again, it's all about the lens that you're seeing from, but your future self is just acknowledging how far you've already come. And I feel like this is an area that might feel a little bit just like uneasy for you, but I feel like there is someone, like there is definitely a counterpart coming in for you guys very soon. And I don't like to put false hope in people's hearts or whatever. And I do my best to really read like the symbology behind just the cards, but this is very clear that I feel like this is like someone is coming in, and you've just been making space in your field across the board in order to like have this new beginning with this person. And they could be someone that you end up working with, and that you end up like, whatever you guys, and what you guys are doing in terms of like the work that you're doing on the planet, I feel like they might be a complementary aspect, or it feels like they fit in very well with where you're already at. Okay. And it's not like you're really compromising yourself or change. It just like makes sense. And you guys have fun together, and you're playing together, and you're not questioning where you stand with them. Okay. Like if you have to question where you stand with someone, probably not the right person. All right. You will know with the right people, you'll know where you stand. All right. So I feel like this feels like a really good place to leave off pile number 1. So I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, peace to your heart today. If it did, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to comment down below. Maybe give me a heart or like 2 roses down below in the comment section if you made it this far. And subscribe if you've been here before, and I hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 2, welcome to your reading for what it is that your future self would like you to know currently. So a message from that future version of yourself. So I'm not surprised that this continues to happen. You have the Empress coming up twice here, and you also have the Hierophant coming up twice. I mean, you have counterparts with the Empress and the Emperor coming up. There's a few 5s coming through. There's a lot about rhythms and cycles. So and the Wheel of Fortune, I feel like this is very clear that those beings that are drawn to this reading at this point in time, there's a very noticeable, and there's a profound up-leveling that's currently happening in your life. Okay, your future self wants you to understand and wants you to know that you are actually, despite what appearances might suggest, you are actually making really great progress forward. Okay, yeah, look, you have 5, 5, 5. Where else did I see it? Okay, maybe you don't have that as many times as I thought you did. But I feel like, yeah, there's just been some disappointments, you know, along your path that sometimes I think we can forget, you know, because we're so zoomed into our own personal experience that that's part of our life. That's part of our incarnation. That's part of, you know, the overall journey. Okay, the vision card talks about having a vision and understanding what it is that we're here to contribute before we take birth. And then it's like we take birth and we're all fucking confused and we're like, where do we go? Like, what do I do from here? Okay, for some of you too, it's if you guys have been wondering, there, because we have cycles and we have the Empress coming up twice, if you guys are wondering if you are fertile or like if you can conceive, like this is a really good time to do so. Or if there's like any like fear in you, if it could happen, like that's a clear message that some of you guys want and need at this time. Okay, and if you want to share it down below, please do, but if not, don't even worry about it. But that's just like is very clear. And if you're not wanting to have a baby, okay, like just be careful. All right, do you boo boo, but just like be careful and just be, you know your body and everything. Okay, so I feel like your future self is like, there's so much here about surrendering to a timeline and a time frame that is way beyond cultural programming and conditioning. There's a lot here about understanding, like, when does it feel the best for you to make love? When does it feel the best for you to go for your run? When does it feel the best for you to sit down and record your video or to do A, B, C, and D, and to establish yourself in something that feels like organic to you? Kairos literally talks about when you're in alignment with the Kairos energy, this is all about like ease and decision making, because like this talks about mythic time. This talks about time way beyond just like you know, the clock, right? The ticking and talking of a clock. This talks about being in alignment with something like the Tao, if you're familiar with the Tao Te Ching, or you know, the great mystery, being in alignment with the divine timing of things. Okay, and I feel like there is, your future self is saying that there might have been a lot of karmic things that feel like they have been happening, because we have the Hierophant coming in twice here, and those were like this was the first tarot card that I noticed, or that I flipped over. I can't help but be drawn to the significance of that there's a lot of learning that is happening right now, or there's an invitation to release your old ways of doing things and old ideas of how things should be done. And there's a huge permission slip here to lean on something much greater than just, you know, programming and what has, you know, what's the word? Momentum, right? The momentum, and leaning into like what feels organic versus just like what has been the way it has been for however long. I feel like there might be, for some of you guys, a decision that has to be made where you're deciding between like taking two paths. And maybe that was something that kind of came out of nowhere that you really weren't expecting. And so there's just a reminder that, you know, you're making decisions. Your future self is like always trying to redirect your focus to like what allows you to embody even more of just your natural nature, like, you know, your true nature, right? What allows you to embody more of your true nature, and giving yourself permission to explore what is your true nature, right? Because I feel like there's like a sense of feeling like life has been mundane, or, you know, like you might even be wanting something to change, wanting something to fall apart, just so you can get the sense that you're like alive, or that, you know, things are moving positively, right? It's like these interesting ways of like, you know, sometimes we create subconsciously these tower moments that give us permission to like, it's almost like Spider-Man, right? You know how Spider-Man, he's this like normal dude and his life is boring, and then he gets bit by the spider. It's like we're waiting for that thing that gives us permission to finally like leap into the direction that we know we need to go in anyways. And so your future self is like, you don't have to wait for that, you know, and you can really live a life that feels very in flow and very at ease. And part of that includes like making the changes when it feels like it's time, right? The Empress is like fertility. This is about when it's right, and not waiting for, the outside or waiting for permission to do that, right? And just like, because there's so much coming through about your connection to the divine, I feel like this is really giving yourself even more permission to surrender to, going through those transitions when it feels right to go through them, and not waiting, right? Not waiting around, but just like surrendering to the cycles and the rhythms of life. I feel guided to pull something. I already pre-shuffled these, but Wisdom of the Oracle, just to get a little bit more information on what your future. Time to go. Interesting. So maybe some of you guys have been focusing on, it looks like there might be some confusion of like, is this for me? Is this not for me? Is it time to go? Is it time to stay? So again, this is kind of reiterating this sense of like feeling at a crossroads. And, the fives, with 3 5s, this tells me that you guys are going to go through big changes. I mean, we have changing woman, like cycles are going to be changing. You're entering into a new cycle with the Wheel of Fortune. And so I feel like this is really giving you permission to be in your authority, and acting from your seat of wisdom as you are making this new decision. So I feel like, this is saying if you guys have been considering new ways of carrying yourself and just like switching up your own routines just to like get some new energy going, or whatever it is, like, even if it's like you one day have for an example, one day you have a vision of like traveling the world in your bus, your self-renovated bus. This is like, what's going to take you closer to that actualizing is you going out and looking for buses, by you going out, like, getting yourself inside of the trailers or inside of renovations. Like, it's not waiting for these things to click into place. But if you feel excited about something, even though it seems like you don't have the resources to do it or to make it happen, it's like, how can I ground that reality now? How can I make it feel like I'm already living that life? All right. How can I make it feel like, even if it seems like I don't have the resources and it seems like this reality is like so far in the future, what is going to get me even closer, like moving in that direction? And I feel like something might have recently happened, or your future self is saying that like you don't have to wait for things to come crashing down in order for you to finally pack your bags and get the fuck on with, whatever it is that you deep down know that you want to do, right? There might be a sense here of like not wanting to let other people down. You might have a family, you might have other people that rely on you in some sort of way, but like this is the wisest thing that you can do is by following your bliss, is by following those things that, just feel like natural extensions of you. It's not holding back any part of you because of like practicality, or any part of you because like, it's realizing that there are different ways. There are so many different ways to make things happen in an incarnation. Okay. And so I feel like, this card talks about living life on the sideline. So maybe you guys have just been so immersed in books and teachings and reading about other people doing things that, maybe you have a core belief or a narrative that is saying like, oh, it can happen for other people, or like, yeah, they can do it, but not me. Right. And so like investigating those areas where you might be compromising your vision, or compromising what actually feels very in flow for you, because there's like this sense that other people can, but you just aren't one of those people. And you could already be on a like moving in that direction. I see that you guys are very like come in with very powerful energies. Like there's a lot of very powerful cards coming up that suggest that you guys are very established in yourself and have a very great connection to the spirit realms, or a really good understanding of who you are and who you came to be, and what you want to do and how to contribute. I feel like there's also maybe been some experiences that you've gone through that might also be tugging on your belief system that keeps you thinking, oh, there is another 5. I was right. There is another 5. I was only able to see these. I was like, I thought there was another 5. Yeah, there's another 5. Okay. That's exciting. So there might be part of you that is like tugging at your belief systems that says, but maybe not, and so your future self is really saying, if you are at an opportunity, or if this crossroads is already here, and you're figuring out where to go. It's like whatever leads you, it's like in the conversations you're having. It's in, you know, your choices of like what you, it's like in so many small ways, like what you're eating, how you dress yourself, how you conduct yourself, like what you spend your time and your energy on, right? It's like these are all casting out votes into, you know, the ethers that say, you know, the direction that you want to move in. And so like, are those, all of those votes that you're casting, big and small, those conversations that you're having with people, those hard conversations, you know, is that taking you closer to your vision? And so an example of that is if like, you know that a relationship is ending or something, for example, you know that something is like not what it once was and it's kind of served its purpose and now it's time to move in a more positive direction. It's like, are you sacrificing your own happiness and what it is that you deeply feel that you're here for, because you're not wanting to have that uncomfortable conversation and you're not wanting to, you know, stir the pot or like rock the boat too soon or something, because there might be a fear of like the repercussions of that, right? And your future self is coming in and really reminding you that any repercussions that might seem negative at first are always here, leading to your good fortune, to your better fortune. So, you know, the only thing I really feel like your future self is saying, the only thing that's really holding you back is like the sense that you cannot be supported by something greater than you, that, you know, there you can't fall into the rhythms and be supported, that, you know, it can't be so easy, you know, maybe it can come easy to other people, but not necessarily for me, pile number 2, right? And so I feel like the time is now. Your future self is saying like something has been seeded within you. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry for that visual that I just gave myself, okay? But something has been seeded in you, okay? And it's very important to act on that seed. Okay. The time is now, right? It says not for you and time to go. I feel like that might be part of your belief systems of like, you know, maybe you are so tired of feeling like you're just observing this from the outside looking in, or watching other people have their successes. But like, you know, Spirit is wanting to redirect your focus on to yourself and what you need to do in order to get moving in that direction. Because yeah, there's so much about you are fertile, the time is now, like it's time to start acting on these things that are taking you closer to what it is that you deeply feel in your heart that you are here for. And a lot of you guys are already moving this direction, but this is like taking it up a notch. Okay, and understanding the ways that you might still be holding on to, you know, we have 3 cards here coming through that really is talking about holding on to the way things have been versus like opening up to the way things could be. And that's always gonna, like, we're never gonna really know how they could be until we're like on that path and taking those steps. And so there's a lot here about, you know, releasing old narratives and old ideas of who you were and, you know, what's happened to you in your past, and, you know, taking your like advice from, not even advice, but taking your believability based off of what has already shown itself to be true. Your future self is coming in and really acknowledging that, you know, if there's a fork in the road that has presented itself or something has ended and now you have the opportunity to go do something else, like you are moving in that direction. You're saying yes to, you know, that adventure. You're saying yes to, you know, the new timeline possibility. You're saying yes to the things that feel right and that feel like a natural unfolding of who you are, and you're not operating on anyone else's time frame. Yeah, I feel like you guys are extremely wise beings, and just like the rest of us, I feel like anyone else on this type of journey, there can just be deep questioning sometimes of why things aren't the way that they were promised. We were promised they would be from like Disney movies, or just like even in spiritual communities, you know, there's sometimes promises that are made that may or may not, you know, be actually relevant for our incarnation. But I feel like for you, pile number 2, like this is really saying that I feel like there's even something coming in that's saying that like a significant counterpart is linked to this, or like maybe someone that you might already be in a relationship with that or like this could even be like a business partnership that you're wondering like how this change might affect it, or maybe this something in the dynamic is what catalyzed this new version of you to like come online or to, you know, want to be explored. But this could also just be saying that, you know, something beautiful is going to be birthed from this new direction, no matter how much fear there might be, no matter how different it looks, no matter how quickly things will probably change, because, you know, with all of these 5 cards, I feel like the change is near. It's inevitable. It really feels like it's inevitable. Changing woman, like you will, yeah. It's time to go. It's time to get a move on and to leave behind what is not for you. I feel like there's just like, you know, there might be a sense of you that just might feel guilty for those beings that you have to walk away from, and, you know, remembering that, you know, that's their own karma. You know, how we respond to others or how we treat others is our karma. How they take it is theirs, okay? And so as long as you are really doing things because it deep down you feel like it's the right thing to do, doesn't mean it's always easy, but it just is right, then, you know, you can trust that. And you can trust that you'll be led to greater horizons. But not having this false idea that, you know, we're always going to feel secure. You know, there's like different levels of faith. I think it's like there's like 4 levels of faith. And so you have to get through like 3 levels before you get to like this unbreakable faith where you're not questioning the universe. You're not questioning this sense of surrender that your future self is trying to guide you towards. There's like 3 major gateways before you even get to that. And part of it is having those moments where it's like, we knew better, we did something and it fell apart. Okay. And, you know, there's where we're kind of taking our cues from like spiritual teachings and people outside of us. And, you know, that kind of strengthens our faith when we really need it. But ultimately your future self is really trying to bring you to a space where, you know, you're not waiting for those outside cues, and you're following what just feels the most natural. And that's going to, I feel like, seal so many detours for you guys. Like things are going to happen so much quicker for you guys, but it's not even about the quickness of it, right? But it's just about, you know, that act of devotion, that act of surrendering, and just like the amount of freedom you'll feel from that is going to, like, you know, anything else is going to pale in comparison to that sense of like free falling, and knowing that you will always be caught, and knowing that it's like it's a never ending free fall, right? And you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get caught on any webs or anything sticky along the way. You just want to, you know, be in that space where you get the download, you like act on it, and things just continue to get better. And for you guys, if there is like a book or anything, like I know sometimes teachings and seeing other people firsthand or hearing about other people who are living a life like this, I would recommend checking out The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, right? Because you know, there's many people that have gotten close to, if not broken into that fourth gateway of faith, that 4th degree of faith, right? Where it's not so like rocky. It's not so, like, I don't really know, where you're like questioning yourself, and, you know, it's like there's such a deep trust. So yeah, if you guys do have that, or if you're at the crossroads, like what brings you closer to your vision, what brings you most alive is another way of saying that. What feels the most natural, the most exciting, the most like confirms to you, okay, like this is me moving in a better direction and not staying somewhere where it's stale and stuck and stagnant, etc. So if that hasn't already happened, then that, you know, is something that seems like it will be occurring very soon, and your future self is like, you have everything you need. You're going to be taken care of. It, again, your faith will be tested, but as long as you can lean into the vision, it's all going to be worth it, and you're going to be so proud that you did, and that you didn't settle for second best, or you didn't settle for the path that is well worn down, that you chose your road less traveled above anything else. Okay, so pal 2, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. Thank you for being a part of this today. If this resonated, please give this video a thumbs up, comment any synchronicities down below, maybe leave a book in the comment section representing this strong Hierophant energy coming in if you want to. And yeah, if you've been here before, subscribe to my channel, and I do hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 3, welcome to your reading for what it is that your future self would like you to know about your current circumstances. So first of all, these are the most chakra cards that I've ever had come up at once. I am noticing that there is a lot of emphasis on the emotional center. And there's a lot too about like mastering our seat of femininity. That might not be the best word, but the sacral chakra is the seat of like our shame and the seat of our creativity. Okay. So this is all just context for the direction that I'm going. I feel like you guys might be in a challenging period where the reflections that you're getting from life are sparking up a deep sense of like feeling frustrated with maybe where you're at or where you think you're not, or being frustrated with people around you. I feel like you're having many opportunities, or you're seeing many opportunities to see how far you've come. Or maybe you guys might be a little bit hard on yourself and think that you're not actually far along as you thought that you once were. Because it seems like there might be some things in your external environment that are triggering past wounds and parts of you that feel like they have not healed yet. Okay, so your future self is really bringing my awareness to the fact that, we have the Two of Swords coming up twice, so that's very significant in this reading. The Two of Swords generally talks about like having two options available to us, and sometimes like neither one of those options is actually the right option, and there's an option that we haven't even considered before that ends up being the right one. Okay, but I feel like, and with choose wisely, I feel like there are some challenges that I feel like have been coming up that maybe you feel like you haven't gone about in your highest light, and that have left you feeling a little bit ashamed, or that have kind of taken a knock at your pride. Your future self is acknowledging that anytime you seem to show a side of yourself that you're not very proud of, I feel like just your awareness around your response, it's interesting that response and responsibility have the same root word. I feel like there's just a lot of, I'm feeling like there is some shame and some embarrassment, or I feel like you guys might be seeing these circumstances that are coming up in your life as like a punishment in some way, or wondering like, what am I doing wrong? Or like, did I pass the test? And, your future self is really coming through and saying like, you can't fail a test. The only way that you fail is by completely giving up. And, essentially undoing these like learning lessons is just a willingness to learn. It doesn't, the willingness to learn kind of trumps whether or not we feel like we're actually learning. Okay. And so just like that willingness opens up so much space, because I feel like there is a deep willingness for you guys to take responsibility of things that feel like they've been out of balance for quite some time. And there is this deep longing that I'm getting to like have a connection with something that is much less superficial than maybe where you guys have been living at. The mirror is can be like a tool that we use that is very superficial. And because I am drawn to the fact that there are two full moons here, I feel like, and we have the star, there's like a sense of wanting to get deeper into yourself. There's so much moon imagery coming through. There's a sense of wanting to see beyond just the surface of things and maybe yourself. And maybe too, some of the reflections that you're getting, it's like you've gone through some significant transformations and you've been working hard on yourself, and you've been doing your best to transmute and transform outdated belief systems. And there might just be a sense of deep anger and rage that, it seems like people aren't receptive to that, or haven't acknowledged how far you've come. And maybe you get around certain people and they just kind of reinstate or reestablish or reaffirm a version of you that you feel like you have past outgrown. And so I feel like there might be a part of you that wants to shut down or to attach certain narratives to that. But I feel like, again, there's so much here about diving beneath the surface of things and not taking things like on such a superficial level. And it was also interesting that we had a lot of like, we have the fourth chakra and up here. You know, there are some things here around like feeling creatively blocked, or like wanting to more intentionally utilize your creative force, your life force energy, and to not just like spew it away towards people and circumstances that, like, you know, are just essentially a waste of time. But it was very obvious that there is a lot here about wanting to see things from a different plane of existence. And so there might be people and situations and things that are kind of catalyzing you to go deeper into yourself, and even deeper than you've already been, because a lot of the people that are drawn to my channel are very wise and very like well on their path. However, it's like, you know, this is a deeper plane of consciousness that I feel like your future self is like trying to guide you towards. And I feel like maybe too, it's like your guides are wanting you to get a better understanding of why certain things do trigger you, and that maybe so much of this anger and rage is coming from you still feeling unseen, or still feeling like you have to justify your reason for having certain emotions. I feel like there's a lot here about like self-transformation, and you guys have been working on yourselves for a long time and wanting to like release past burdens. And I feel like maybe there's a little bit of questioning if you're on the right path, or questioning if things are ever going to look up, or questioning if, you know, if this is all real, or if it's all bullshit, or like if it's any of it is worth it. Okay. And I feel like your future self is really coming through and saying that these are the questions that are wanting to be asked. Like, it's like that higher aspect of you was giving you these situations and these catalysts and these heartbreaks and these uncomfortable experiences in order to get you to ask those questions, to take things to the next level, to a deeper level. And so there are many opportunities I'm seeing for healing to happen. And it has to do with self-expression, and it has to do with being compassionate for yourself and your journey, and having that same compassion for other people. There's also a link here to some things that happened in your childhood that is being reflected now into your adult years, or like years later, whatever. You know, people are at all different ages. So there might be some significant transits happening in your natal chart that just makes things feel so intense for you at this moment. But there's a lot about like not dimming down your expression and showing up authentically, like taking responsibility for like your authenticity and not dimming down. And like most of the times when people get angry and people yell and they shout and scream and they become rageful and like resentful is when they feel like they are not being seen, and that who they are in that moment is not respected, right? It's not valued because other people like A, B, C, and D, right, just don't have the capacity to see how your version of reality is just as valid, or whatever. You know, it's generally the people that are operating through like narrower lenses of perception that have some shit to say about, you know, someone who is like on a journey, has been consciously on a journey to become more free and to become more self-sovereign. And so I feel like, yeah, there's a lot here about zooming out and seeing that this karma is not just your own, but seeing the interconnectivity, the interrelationships between, you know, this is very complex. This is a very like deep and multifaceted reading. Okay. So I can only assume that you guys are very far and just like very aware of the multiple, that like your multi-dimensional experience, because there's a lot here that's coming through about how we are all perfect reflections for other people, right? And each other. And, you know, your future self is really coming through. And yeah, there just might be some guilt about a way that you like handled a situation, or wondering if you did the right thing. Did I choose wisely? But, you know, as long as you're doing your best, you know, your future self is like, you're getting the reflections that you need, and you're giving other people the reflections that they need. Okay. And there might just be some not needing to question, or not questioning yourself so much when, like, you know, for example, if you've been holding back your truth most of your life and you don't tend to stand up for yourself, like, part of your healing journey and taking responsibility for your path is, like, you know, it might be very messy at first when you start learning how to stand up for yourself and speak your truth. Coming from personal experience, okay? I was fucking canceled for it, but I've never felt so good. All right? Never felt so good and so alive. And, you know, I understood that these other people were part of a reflection that I needed, and I was a reflection that they needed. But ultimately, like, no one can say what is the right path for your healing or not. Like, you know, this whole choose wisely might be keeping you in a state of questioning yourself that doesn't actually need to be there, and honoring what karmic knots, like how undoing that looks for you, like how speaking your truth looks for you, and understanding the interconnectivity of everything. And, like, you can't fuck it up. You can't get any of it wrong. I feel there's a lot of pressure, and your future self is wanting you to release that pressure valve, because it's actually aiding towards this, like, self-resentment, and maybe even resentment towards other people, and, like, feeling like you have to explain yourself all the time. And there is a sense of, like, maybe not seeing there are other ways of understanding something, or there's something that's not made completely clear. It's like you might have that either or kind of mentality, that black or white kind of mentality of, like, it's either this or that. It's like shadow or it's light, you know, when it's like, no, this is an infinite shade of gray. All right. It's like, yeah, we need those polarities, you know, to make all the other blends in between possible. And so there's a little bit of rigidity that I'm sensing from this, that your future self is really wanting to shake up in a big way. And I feel like once you let yourself off the hook a little bit more, and just, like, it's very clear that you care a lot about your journey and what you're here for. Like, there's a lot about going after what you want and, like, making shit happen. You know, the Magician is all about resources and doing what it has to do. And I feel like once you give yourself a little bit more permission to just, like, be shades of gray and not be so black and white, then you'll feel like you're moving so much more quickly. And again, it's not like you're burying your head in the sand and not taking responsibility for things that you should, but it's like, you know, yeah, I feel like it really is about releasing these old stagnant ways of thinking in terms of good and evil and right and wrong, and just, like, how the context of a situation can draw, like, you can say, I would never, like, kill someone, right? But if you're a parent and it's between, like, your child living and someone else living, you know, contextually speaking, you would probably kill someone in that okay? Like, sorry if that might have been a little bit morbid, but, you know, not living so, like, in such a box, because I feel like it's that box that keeps this, you know, keeps the resentment going towards yourself and towards other people that don't understand you, right? And that, you know, try to tell you how it is, but it really is about, you know, letting yourself off the hook and not caring so much about how other people are going to receive you, because you can show up in the most pure ways, right? You can be the saintliest of all saints, but if you're dealing with someone who's very clouded in their own perception, they would never know that, you know, and anything you say is going to be ran through their own filters and their own limitations. So it's like, you might as well just, like, you know, do your best at all times and let yourself off the hook. And I feel like you might just, again, I feel like some catalysts that are happening in your external environment that are taking you even deeper into yourself. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable, because it's asking you to keep your heart open while being firm and speaking your truth. And it's about, like, seeing the separateness and seeing how other people are here to reflect to you certain things, while also understanding this is a unitive experience, and you're just talking to yourself at the end of the day, like the core of that other being, right? So again, it's honoring all these different layers and levels that I feel like we're kind of, catalyzed or set in place during your initial years being on the planet. And so I feel like there's a lot, it's like I feel like there's a lot of potential here saying when you just like let yourself off the hook a little bit, and again, honoring those shades of gray, things are going to take off in a big way. And you might have been feeling stuck or stagnant, or am I doing the right thing? Or am I on the right path? And that's going to be irrelevant because you're going to know without a shadow of a doubt. But I feel like it's just some blockages. I feel like there's just some blockages. And once those are kind of cleared and you keep your heart open in hell, so to speak, and you're not closing it down, and you're able to see, from all these different layers, the relevance of the relativity, right? So the relevance of all of these different layers and like dimensions that we are operating at once, it's going to be easier to not hold a grudge and to not like, let other people who are like more superficial than you kind of dictate how you feel. All right, so we're going to get a little bit deeper. So what is the future self of Pile 3 want them to know, please? Here and now. So you have more of this green energy coming through. Yeah, so releasing the past, not being so focused on the future, but just like, yeah, what is showing up now? What is the most, oh my gosh, yeah. I do know too that, the times that when I'm trying to figure out, okay, which is the right path, like what is the right way to go, generally the thing that I never would have considered comes through when I'm just present. And so if you are faced with a situation where like, where the fuck do I go from now? It's like, that will be made very clear to you. Like the more present that you are and the less you're taking your cues from, it's like you can honor your past without bringing that storyline with you. Like you can honor what was like set your curriculum or your blueprint, so to speak, for you to like experience this incarnation. You can honor that while also knowing, okay, that was supposed to set certain challenges internally, create certain imbalances that I then have this experience of overcoming from this plane of existence, right? And then, yeah, ultimately keeping your eye on the prize, right? The star card also reminds me of the North Star, and knowing that regardless of appearances that, you are forever going to be attached to this. Like your heart is going to be so in tune with something greater. And so no matter how much darkness is around you, like I've met some people who have been in some pretty dark places and ended up still like, it's like, wow, how did you, that is incredible. And speaking for myself, I've been in some really dark places that my North Star was like, this is not where you're meant to be. Long term, it's where you are. So, on one level, it's where you're meant to be, but on another level, you're here for something greater. So let's keep it moving towards that something greater, right? But also honoring the fact that everything that's happened up to that point in time is also relevant, and it doesn't mean you're good or bad or anything, right? There's like some judgment that I'm sensing from this pile. And next you have Unfinished Symphony. So yeah, you might have like taken a break from something that actually like really lifts your spirit, or been wondering if you should pause, or also this is saying that we are always, as long as we're incarnate, we're always an unfinished symphony. So this sense of like becoming the most perfected, healed state is like there's no finish line. Like the thought of there being a finish line is of the mind, right? But the heart knows better. The heart knows that this is a boundless place that we're at, and there's no right or wrong decision, and there's no like starting point, there's no ending point, but it's just like a continuation. And so this is like, there's a lot here about not giving up and pushing through whatever this is, like not pushing through in the hyper masculine way that you're denying your emotions, but pushing through in the sense of like, okay, this is my experience right now. This is what I'm experiencing right here and now. I'm not going to deny it. It's part of my path, right? I'm experiencing it, but there's not like this sense of repression because we feel guilty about it being there, right? And so I feel like there's a lot of like holding on to things and like emotional things, or just guilt is the biggest thing that I'm feeling from this group, that your future self is like, once we can unblock that, or once we can have even just a little bit of space for grace to come through, man, it's like there's going to be an acceleration on your path. But there is a sense of zooming out and seeing things from all of their different levels that they could be existing at. And this doesn't even mean like, you don't have to like, it's like, I love that Tupac said, I want my enemies to eat too, just not at my table, right? That's the kind of the different dimensions we're living on. Like, yes, we're all one, but contextually speaking in this incarnation, like, I'm not going to invite like the serial killer over to my house for dinner anytime soon. Okay. So it's like honoring the different levels, and like, yeah, there's a lot here about having more grace for yourself and not being like on earth looking up at heaven, not being in heaven looking down on earth, but like in the in between, and like taking space when you need to, taking your time to heal, taking your time away from people that, you know, kind of like that payoff that they get from being able to trigger you, but persevering and like taming the beast, so to speak. Both the lions here do in their own way talk about taming the beast of like those wild emotions, but you're not repressing them, but you're learning how to channel them in a much more productive way and learning what that means for you. Yeah, taking space, meditating, but ultimately I feel like this is saying that like you are coming into a space, your future self is acknowledging that you're coming into a space where you feel very equanimous in situations. Like your emotions aren't like necessarily like running you. You're very in tune with your emotions, but there's not like this resistance to when things get uncomfortable, and there's not like this overly attachment to things when they're getting really good. And that's like a really soft spot, that's like the sweet spot to be in terms of that, you know, those third options or those other ways of living or those other opportunities being made available, because there's not so much of an expectation or like there's not so much of an expectation of how things should be based off of how they've been, but you're just open, you're spacious, right? It's like whatever needs to be reflected, I trust that it's going to be made known to me, right? And I don't have to like get so caught up in like the making the wrong decision, but it should be easeful. It's going to feel more and more easeful the more that you release this like need to like be perfect and to have everyone understand you, right? And as long as you're alive, you're never going to feel finished. There's no finish line. Right. And so like letting yourself feel light just from that, like the more you can stay in that light space, regardless of what's coming up internally or externally, the more that, you know, you're staying on your right path, and you're not going to give up just when it gets hard, and you're not going to like take the easy way out or anything. It's like, okay, right path doesn't always mean easy, but it always means more and more fulfilling. Okay. So pile number 3, I'm going to leave this here for now. If this resonated, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave a lion in the comment section if you got this far, if you feel guided to, or like a chakra, one of these chakras. And yeah, if you have been here before, maybe subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 4, welcome to your reading for a message from your future self in regards to your current circumstances. So right off the jump, I couldn't help but notice that we have both the comic and we have Uzume coming up, which both cards really do translate the importance of laughter as, you know, the most healing medicine that we can come across. So there's a lot of like transformation, right? The fact that we have temperance and transformation kind of both connected to this laughter card says a lot, right? I feel like you guys might be in a place of doubting where you're at, and doubting your journey, doubting if you can be successful, doubting if it's worth it. And your future self is coming through and telling you that your intuition knows better. Your intuition is telling you that, you know, that this is possible, but maybe it's just like your belief systems that don't fully support it. So like a greater part of yourself, which is the intuition, versus like the more limited part of yourself, it seems like it's kind of at a battle here. And those scales I'm hearing are about to tip. I feel like something significant is happening. You know, the thing about Minerva is like, it's not about denying any aspect of the journey. That's not what true transformation is about, right? True transformation, like you have to go through the darkness in order to have that metamorphosic type of experience. And so, you know, we do have the yin and yang coming up too to beautifully depict what Minerva is all about. And Minerva is about, you know, embracing the shadow as we still reach for the light. And so it's acknowledging those areas where, you know, we do have outdated belief systems. And like maybe part of your belief system is like, you know, is this actually for me? Can I actually do this? Is it always going to be like me watching other people, you know, get theirs and, you know, have like incredible results or whatever? And am I ever going to feel like I'm at a place that I'm proud of? Okay. And so this is your future self is really coming through and saying, yeah, you have been undoing a lot of karmic knots. Okay. there's been a lot of scale tipping that I feel like you don't even realize that you have, that has happened. And that you will, like, this is such confirmation, you guys, of like, not only being on the right path, but like you actually giving yourself permission to enjoy it more is going to help seal it faster. And so much of this too is like, if you're producing because there's a misperception or a belief that, you know, the more I produce, the more like results I'm going to see, or the more, you know, something about results, right? Something as being a means to an end versus like doing it because it's fun and doing it because like it's just what feels the most right for you to do. And you know, deep down know it's a part of your soul's blueprint. It's like that is going to harvest so many more rewards, not just on a level of tangibility, but like on a spiritual level again, because there's that 777 is coming through here. And I feel like there's a little bit of doubt. There's a lot of bit of doubt that you've had maybe, and like on this path, and like your laughter and your humor and your like lightheartedness is going to help transform this doubt into reassurance. Right. And I feel like there are some, you know, this card also, I do know that it talks about like if there's any time that you meet a spiritual teacher that takes themselves too seriously, and I say this all the time, like before I even came across this guidebook, I already knew this. I'm like, if true spirituality and true like the richness of life is like, you can't take it too seriously, and obviously you need to take it serious enough and, you know, feed your children and all of that stuff, right? But I feel like with the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles, you guys might have been seeing progress in some sense of like this journey that you're on, but maybe it's not the page into the King, right? It's just the page into the Knight. And so it's like slow and steady with this Seven of Pentacles, where it's like continuing to put one foot in front of the other, whether or not it always makes sense to you from this plane is going to create a lot more prosperity than I think you even know, and giving yourself permission to try new things and like not giving up when the going gets tough, and remembering like why you're doing this, right? Why you're doing anything, because it's like what feels the most, like it feels like what you're here to do. And you don't know what else you would be doing. And it feels like a deep part of like why you came here, right? It feels like your dharma. It feels like your life purpose. It feels like the thing that you would be doing even if money wasn't attached to it, okay? And I feel like this is your future self saying that things are going to change very soon. Like something is going to begin. There's going to be a new beginning in a very tangible way coming in for you guys. And like the way that you just carry yourself in general is going to be different. The more that you don't take yourself so seriously and like release yourself from this box of, you know, having to appear a certain way or needing things to be on your own timeline. Right? That's a very suffocating way to live. And I feel like your guides, your future self is really coming in and saying that, you know, this path that you're on is about not just like material prosperity, but this is like spiritual prosperity. What does that mean? That means you feel more free to show up as you are. That means you're honoring all the levels of your existence and not just getting so hyper focused on one area, or so hyper focused on like needing to make something of yourself or needing to prove something to other people, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, accruing more karma. That's accruing more things, more misperceptions of like the way things are, or the way things, you know, what actually feels truthful to you is what another way of saying that. Like not selling out what you know to be true for you deep down because, you know, there's comparisons, or you're watching other people, how they're doing it, or any of that. It's like, you know, keeping yourself steady and faithful to your own path, and not getting so caught up in it that it's like you're not having fun anymore, right? Or taking it too seriously. I feel like there's a sense of like the seriousness that can be coming from like not wanting to look bad, or, you know, I feel like it's maybe becoming a block in other areas of your life that you might not be aware of. And it's like the next level of freedom is wanting to be born at this point in time. And I feel like from that, there might be a completely new direction that is born. Something that you might not have even considered or thought was possible, because, you know, you're just inviting more space. You're releasing more of your ideas of how it should be, or who you should be, or how it should look. And so you're much more supple to receive even better, you know, something even better, because you have like integrated the lesson of the rigidity, right? You integrated the lesson behind, okay, it's not so much about what I'm doing, but it's much more about like how I'm being, the place I'm sitting at when I'm doing these things. But yeah, there most certainly is a lot of success coming in for you guys for pile number 4. There's a lot of success. There's a lot of transformation. There's a lot of growth. And so the more lighthearted you can be during these processes, the better, right? But yeah, I am feeling like very like excited. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of fulfillment. And there's a lot of like leaving yourself open to be surprised. Right, because I am getting the sense that something new is coming in and it's attached to this like transformation that's occurring, and you guys being a bit more lighthearted and, you know, choosing to only nurture those things that remind you or that keep you in the space of like what I'm here for, what pile 4 is here for, and not getting so caught up in, you know, bullshit, stuff that doesn't matter, comparing your path to someone else or anyone else. And you have no idea what their soul's blueprint is. You have no idea what their lessons are because, you know, different levels, different devils, okay? So one person's looking from the outside in, someone seeming to have a lot of blessings in a certain area. You don't know how that's, you know, attached to their karma. You don't know, like, the misfortune that's built into that fortune, right? It's like really keeping your focus on yourself. Because I feel like the only time that one of the main times that we start to stop having fun is because we might see like other people seeming to attain the realities that we feel like we deeply want, and forgetting that this is not necessarily about, oh look, we have the Ace of Cups underneath that. This is not necessarily a path about because with all this spiritual, you know, I feel like this is a very spiritual pile, okay? And so you even have 14, which is also like a multiple of 7, right? So there's a lot here that's saying it's, for pile number 4, it's so much more than just about that. And you would rather be just like the happiest person, like scrubbing toilets. You're like, ideally, probably not. But, you know, just for the sake of this analogy, you'd rather be happy in doing that than from the outside seeming like you have all of the success, but be fucking miserable, right? And so that's like the level that spirit is wanting you to, you know, getting you to. Who knows what happens when you heal this misperception of needing to take things so seriously and like comparing yourself and like thinking that, you know, what other people have is what you want. That, you know, when you heal whatever part of yourself that is resisting where you're at in your journey currently, you might realize that you're so happy you didn't get what you want when you thought that you wanted it the most. And I can speak to this, like, I can totally speak to this, okay? And just honoring your process and honoring the speed that you're going, and ultimately your future self is acknowledging that you have made great progress and that you are on a very great path, okay? And you know, your future self is acknowledging that it's been hard, it's been challenging at times, it's been fucking boring, it's been like you've been just like wondering like, why do I bother sometimes? But it's because like this is part of the, you know, this is part of the grist for the mill, so to speak. This was part of what was going to extricate your best self forward, is by going through these like pockets of uncomfortability. And, you know, you only strengthen your faith through doubt, right? Doubt actually strengthens our faith, because it's only a matter of time before you like continue to do the thing you know you need to do, following your intuition, and then you see that doubt becomes irrelevant. It's eradicated, right? And so you guys might be going through some significant transformations, and or like there's a new beginning that is like bringing forth like a lot of imposter syndrome or something that feels very like uncomfortable. And this is also saying that, you know, the more that you lighten up, that, you know, you're going to have a lot of new opportunities all around, and to, you know, create those opportunities yourself, right? So, you know, as much as you can, keeping the energy fresh and fun and lighthearted. You never know when you're going to get your next major breakthrough, or like have your path completely taken in a new direction that is so much more exciting, just because you were just like, you know, you weren't so stuck in this like repetitive kind of energy, like this old energy. So whatever, all of those could resonate, or, you know, just one of them or a few of them could, but, you know, it's all about staying lighthearted and open and not taking it too seriously, and knowing that there's a lot of like yeah, there's some karmic things that have just needed to play themselves out for you in order to have you have certain realizations that will make sense, maybe not at this point, but in hindsight when you look back. So what else do we need to know? What else do we need to know for pile number 4, please? Okay, yeah, so you might feel a little bit pressured about the time frame, right? External pressures. Oops. Yeah, you might be judging yourself based off of like how other people have done it, how soon, how it's happened for other people. Yeah, I could just use a leg up now and then. Go the distance. Oh my gosh, this is my ultimate card for like not giving up, and that you're so close, and that like this is really about, again, honoring the parts of your journey that feel very like stagnant and just like, you know, I feel like what makes the victory so much more, the triumph so much more worth it, is the amount of doubts that you plowed through regardless, right? And you're just like, watch me. Like, I don't know what else I would be doing. Speaking for you, Pile 4, like, I feel like there's your future self is like, you know, stay on your path, or, you know, commit to the paths and the ways of existing and being that feel the most truthful to you, and that ultimately might not always be the easiest, might not make sense from the outside looking in, but just feel the best for you. All right, not giving up. There could be something that you guys do on TikTok too, or that could be another way that like you, I don't know, meet more soul family, or, you know, just like having more fun, right? TikTok is kind of a silly place, depending who you ask. Some people hate it, some people love it. For me, it's added a great dimension to just like meeting more people and people that just like resonate with my work. So that's been pretty cool. But I feel like this is like really saying the most unexpected places and people can oftentimes be the people that support you the most. And that, you know, I feel like this is a leg up in terms of like, yeah, what's going to give you a leg up is the less serious that you're taking it and the more fun that you're having. There's a lot of pressure that I feel like pile number 4 you might put on yourself. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a negative thing, because I feel like maybe if anything, you just really do take your path seriously, and you do know that you're here to make a difference and you want to actualize on that. But there is this sense of like needing to keep a beginner's mind, right? Because in a lot of ways, I'm hearing that this is the beginning for you, or it feels like whatever you've been doing, you haven't been doing very long, you know, and everyone's going to be at different journeys, and this is going to relate to this in different ways, different aspects of your incarnation. But I feel like this is really saying that there's a lot of change that is going to happen very soon, or, you know, the change that you want is attached to this lesson. This feels like a karmic lesson with justice. Justice always reminds me of karmic lessons, especially with temperance. There's like your growth and your new like blossoming and your new next level is attached to like laughing more. And I feel like there is something coming through here about like embarrassment or shame, or your deepest fears or insecurities, because generally we have a hard time laughing at things to the degree that we believe them to be true about ourselves, and to the degree that it's like an uncomfortable belief, right? And so these are all your indications. Okay, the places it's hardest for me to enjoy myself and the hardest for me to like laugh at myself, what is that here to show me about myself, right? What is that here to show me about where I'm still denying my own light, or where I'm still, you know, believing something false about myself? But there's a lot here about not giving up, that your future self is like, you're closer than I think you even realize to having a like incredible breakthrough, to where finances, there's like 1, 2, 3 cards here. I might be missing some, but there's like 3 cards in particular here that is linked to like material prosperity and things like changing and shifting in the material realms. And even the page in the Knight of Pentacles can talk about that too. This can also, I'm also seeing like just like laughing more with other people, collaborating more, right? Like not being so in like feeling like you're on your own while you're doing this. Yeah, reaching out to other people when you need to. right? Taking that leg up when and if you need to, not feeling like you have to rely on yourself. If you've also been considering like whether you should reach out to someone or like, this could talk about receiving guidance from like a teacher or a mentor. This also talks about releasing, like both of these cards together to me talk about releasing your idea of like, again, the time frame that things need to be on. And this is really saying like, do not be swept up in the tiny fluctuations, right? And sometimes, getting a lot of great feedback and sometimes not getting too much feedback and sometimes getting more negative feedback than you might want. It's like not getting swept up in those, tiny little things. And it's like, it's not a sprint, but it's a marathon kind of thing. So you're not getting swept up in what's, the short facts, the short figures to follow, but you're understanding that it's like something that takes time. And in a moment, anything, like something can change. I feel like that continues to come through is like in any moment, like something can drastically change because this is beyond the realms of just like modern man's idea of time and how it works and success and how it works. But something can shift very rapidly. And I feel like that rapid shift is like when you make more space in your psyche and your emotional body and understanding that you've been doing a lot of work and, you've been like with Triumph coming up right underneath Justice. I feel like you guys have been plowing through your karmic knots and really doing a lot already about assessing your belief systems. And I feel like there's something here about entering a new paradigm because that's when beliefs can tend to get the most wild and just like unruly is when we're really about to break into a new level to where those existing within a certain like frequential bandwidth can't make it into the next bandwidth. Right. And so it's kind of like you do a final stand with those misperceptions. So yeah, there's a lot of transformation that's on the horizon. Your future self is saying, lean into it, go the distance, don't give up, don't get, thrown off by the little ebbs and flows that are bound to happen. And ultimately keep a light heart, have fun, enjoy it, and continue to follow what feels the most right to you, regardless if it makes the most amount of sense. And regardless of whatever doubts and insecurities inevitably come up, because again, you're still in the very beginning. Okay. And like you have yet to experience true prosperity, like financial prosperity that I feel like you desire in terms of like extending your gifts and extending, your healing. Cause I'm getting a sense of like being a lot of healers being drawn to this pile. And, having that be able to be long-term and sustaining, I feel like is actually a much closer reality than you guys are even aware of at this point in time. Okay. So don't give up, keep going, keep tuning into your North Star. And, this is just the beginning, no matter how long you've been on this path, like it's just the beginning and things are like going to pick up very soon. Okay. But remain lighthearted. Have fun and laugh a lot. All right. Pile number 4, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, and peace to your heart today. If it did, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below like a laughing emoji, one of your favorite laughing emojis if it resonates. And yeah, if you've been here before, subscribe to my channel and I really hope to see you soon.